Let's first take a look at content of today's presentation. First, I will introduce you to the computer memory hierarchy and discuss about the importance and application of tertiary storage level and devices in memory hierarchy. Then we will see the list of devices that make up tertiary storage level. I will then introduce the first tertiary storage device, that is magnetic tape, and discuss its type and data formats. The second device I will discuss is optical disc. I will classify the most commonly used optical discs and present the optical disc structure and working mechanism. The third device I will discuss is optical tapes. And the final device of presentation is robotic tape library. I will discuss one arm and two arm robotic tape libraries and draw comparison among them. Then I will discuss in detail the performance of tertiary storage devices and major terminologies associated with it. At the end, I will summarize the whole discussion about tertiary storage devices. In computer architecture, the memory hierarchy separates computer storage into a hierarchy based on response time. Since response time, complexity, and capacity are related, the levels may also be distinguished by their performance and controlling technologies. There are three main storage levels. First is the primary storage level, which consists of RAM, and second is the secondary storage level, which consists of hard disk, and third is the tertiary storage level, which consists of removable storage media that is used for backup or archival purposes. In this presentation, our focus is on tertiary storage devices. The main objective of tertiary storage level is to provide huge storage capacity at low cost. Several types of storage devices are available to be used at the tertiary storage level in hierarchical storage systems. Typically, tertiary storage involves a robotic mechanism which will mount and dismount removable mass storage media into a storage device according to the system's demand. Such data are often copied to the secondary storage before use. It is primarily used for archiving rarely accessed information since it is much slower than secondary storage. This is primarily useful for extraordinarily large data stores accessed without human operators. Typically, examples include tape libraries and optical jukeboxes. When a computer needs to read information from the tertiary storage, it will consult a catalog database to determine which tape or disk contains the information. Next, the computer will instruct a robotic arm to fetch the medium and place it in a drive. When the computer has finished reading the information, the robotic arm will return the medium to its place in the library. As shown in the figure, tertiary storage devices are magnetic tapes, optical discs, magneto-optical discs. Robotic exchange jukeboxes are nearline storages that is not immediately available but can be made online quickly without human intervention. Contrary to this are the manual exchange systems, which also are not immediately available and require some human intervention to become online. Further, tertiary storage devices are composed of fixed storage drives and removable media units. The storage drives are fixed to the computer system. The removable media unit can be removed from the drive so that the storage capacity can be expanded with more media units. When data on a media are accessed, the media unit is accessed from their normal location. One of the storage drives on the computer system is chosen. If there is a media unit in the storage drive, the old media unit is unloaded and ejected. The new media unit is then loaded to the drive. Magnetic tape is a medium of magnetic recording made of a thin magnetizable coating on a long narrow strip of plastic film. It was developed in Germany in 1928 based on magnetic wire recording. Devices that record and play back audio and video using magnetic tape are tape recorders and video tape recorders respectively. A device that stores computer data on a magnetic tape is known as a magnetic drive. Magnetic tapes have been in use before magnetic hard disks became popular. Although magnetic disks are low latency, inexpensive disks, magnetic tapes are cheap and of large capacity. Thus, magnetic tapes are still used in practical storage systems for backup and archival applications. They are used to store objects that are large and rarely accessed. Multimedia objects are large in size, and some objects are mainly stored for the backup purpose. These objects are rarely accessed. Thus, the large capacity of magnetic tapes helps to store multimedia objects cheaply. In addition, a multimedia stream accessed a data object sequentially. When a multimedia object is sequentially accessed from the tape storage format allows the storage system to deliver data at high throughput. Thus, magnetic tapes have been investigated to store multimedia objects. Many magnetic tape drives access data tapes in two forms. They include the tape reels and the tape cartridges. Tape reels or reel-to-reel uses two separate reels as shown in the figure above. They include the supply reel and the take-up reel. The magnetic tape is unwound from the supply reel. It passes through several tape guides to the read-write heads. It then passes through many tape guides to the take-up reel to be wound. It usually needs human intervention to lead the tape through all the guides and wind it at the take-up reel. It is difficult to perform the tape loading operation automatically. The reel-to-reel format was used in the earliest tape recorders, including the pioneering German-British Blattner phone machines of the late 1920s, which used steel tape, and the German magnetophone machines of 1930s. Originally, this format had no name, since all forms of magnetic tape recorders used it. The name arose only with the need to distinguish it from several kinds of tape cartridges or cassettes, such as the endless loop cartridge developed for radio station commercials and spot announcements in 1954. The full-size cassette developed by RCA in 1958 for home use, as well as compact cassettes developed by Philip in 1962, originally for dictation. When tapes are kept on cartridges, the supply, the tape guides, and the take-up reel are all housed in one cartridge. To load a tape, the drive extracts some tape between the supply reel and the take-up reel and winds it around the read-write heads. It is easier to perform the tape loading operation automatically. You can see an audio tape cartridge in an adjacent figure. A tape cartridge is a storage device that contains a spool of magnetic tape used to store different kinds of data, from corporate data to audio and video files. Each cartridge is designed to fit into a compatible audio-video recorder system or computer system. In the context of computing, however, a tape cartridge is the magnetic tape storage cartridge used in tape library units to store digital data on magnetic tape, which is packed in cassettes and cartridges. A magnetic tape cartridge is an essential component of a robust backup system which makes use of tape libraries for long-term backup storage. The tape cartridge is the actual piece of hardware that data is saved to. Through an autoloader or reboot, the cartridge is inserted into one of many tape drives with a tape library unit for reading and writing. Because of the nature of tape cartridge, only sequential writing and reading are possible. So if a specific file needs to be located, a tape drive must read the tape cartridge from the beginning of the spool until it reaches the specific file location. This can take time and is the biggest drawback of a storage system using magnetic tape cartridge. However, tape is cheaper per gigabyte compared to hard drives and solid state drives, making it ideal for long-term storage archiving. Now we will see how magnetic tapes record data. Magnetic tapes record data in three formats. They include linear, longitudinal, helican scan. These tape format stores data on data tracks. As shown in the figure, the read-write heads assembly may be able to move. The different directions in moving read-write heads lead to different tape formats. These tape formats are used in different types of storage devices. Traditional computers record data on the magnetic tapes in the linear tape format. The tapes move horizontally. The read-write heads assembly is fixed inside the tape drive. Computer data are recorded horizontally along the tape moving direction. Several read-write heads are mounted along perpendicularly to the tape moving direction. Thus, Several bits are recorded by the read-write heads on the tape at the same time. Digital linear tapes record data using serpentine tape format. Data are recorded in the longitudinal direction like the linear tapes, similar to the linear tape format. The tape read-write heads are fixed when data are recorded on the tape to form a track. After the tape comes to one end, the head moves at the perpendicular direction to the tape moving direction. The tape then moves backward to record another data track in the opposite direction. The movement of read-write heads are repeated to record several data tracks on the tape. Thus, the width of the tape is used to increase the storage capacity of the magnetic tape. Video cassette recorders record video data on video home system, that is VHS tapes. The VHS tapes use the Helican scan format. The read-write heads are mounted on a cylinder like a drum. The heads are mounted at an angle and rotate like a wheel. Thus, they form short data tracks on the surface of the tape. Magnetic tapes have been used in many legacy systems. They offer cheap storage to systems that store large amounts of data. The storage of data that are practically impossible on magnetic disks can be implemented using magnetic tapes. Based on the long access latency and low storage cost per gigabyte, magnetic tapes have been used in backup applications for years. Magnetic tapes record data on tapes. Since the tapes are wound around the reels, the tape recording surface is hidden from the read-write heads. This leads to long access latency when the tape is unwound to reveal the hidden surface. It also results in a high storage capacity to physical dimension ratio when compared to the disk format. In recent years, the improvement in recording density in the magnetic disks are also implemented on magnetic tapes to increase their storage capacity and throughput. Thus, the improvement in recording density does not make the magnetic tape obsolete. Unfortunately, the read-write heads touch the tape surface when data is accessed. After some times, the tape can become worn or torn. This and other causes limit the lifespan of magnetic tapes. Thus, the tapes need to be replaced and data or moved to the new tapes. This happens. Now we will discuss about another tertiary storage device, which is optical disc. An optical disc is an electronic storage medium that can be written to and read from using a low power laser beam. Originally developed in late 1960s, the first optical disc created by James T. Russell stored data as micron-wide dots of light and dark. Russell's optical storage system used a powerful backlight to read the dots through a transparent sheet of material on which the dots were encoded. In later optical disc system, a laser read the dots and the data was converted to an electrical signal. Then the data was converted to audio or visual output. However, the technology did not appear in the marketplace until Philips and Sony came out with the optical disc, that is CD, in 1982. Since then, there has been a constant succession of optical disc formats, first in the CD formats and followed by a number of digital versatile discs, that is DVD formats. DVD are also known as digital video discs. Initially, an optical disc could hold much more data than similarly sized magnetic storage media. Increases in hard disk drive technology and particularly the introduction of solid-state memory helped magnetic media capacity outgrow optical disk. However, optical disk storage is less likely to degrade over time than magnetic storage, such as hard disk drive or magnetic tape, so it is often used for archival or cold storage. Optical disks can be classified according to the modification ability of the recording material. They include read-only disk, write-once or recordable disk, read-writable disk, and read-write disk. First, we will discuss about read-only disks. Read-only disks can only be read by the optical drive. The data on the disk cannot be changed. Second is the write-once or recordable disks. Write-one disks can be modified only once and read many times. After a bit of data is modified, the bit of data cannot be changed again. Similar to write-once disk, the third in the classification, the rewritable disks can be modified only once and read many times. In addition, the entire disk can be erased. After the disk is erased, the disk can be modified again. Fourth is the read-write disk. Read-write disks can be read and modified many times. Now we will take a look at optical disk structure. Every optical disk has at least three distant layers. The first is plastic or recording layer. The second is reflective aluminum or reflective metal layer. The third is protective polycarbonate layer. Now, consider the top figure in which the optical disc structure is shown. The plastic layer or recording layer beneath the identifying label is where the disk actually stores the information in the form of physical binary code. It is along this plastic or recording layer that the laser etches nanoscale bumps or gaps when the disk is first created. A thin layer of aluminum is coated on the substrate below the recording material. The optical disks are circular in shape. Data recorded on a spiral track, as shown in the figure below. The disk drive uses servo to control the position of optical drive automatically. Now let's discuss the read-write method of optical disks. Optical disks read and write data using laser beams. Some optical disks are recorded using red laser beams, and some other optical disks are recorded using blue laser beams. The laser beam is diffracted into the recording layer of the optical disc. It is then focused at the recording track. The status of the recording material at the recording layer is modified by high intensity layer, and the status of recording material is read by low intensity laser beams. Now let's see how optical discs work when they are being read. There are two states of the recording bit position. At one status of the recording bit position, the laser beam directly passes through the recording layer to the aluminum coating underneath, as seen in the figure. The aluminum coating then reflects the laser beam to the recording head, and the recording head reads it as a 1. At another status of the recording bit position, the laser beam is deflected at the recording layer. The recording head thus does not receive any reflected beam from the aluminum coating and read it as a 0. Like magnetic disks, optical disks store data on rigid disk platters. The optical disk head can be moved along the radius of the circular disk to locate the accessed data quickly. Thus, the optical disk drives can access data on the track with low latency. This makes the disk format superior to the tape format. Since optical drives record data on the disk recording layer using laser beams, the drives do not need to touch the optical disk at all. This avoids scratching the disk surface. When moisture or fingerprints gather on the disk surface, the disk can easily be wiped away. These features allow the optical disk to have a long lifespan. Now we will discuss the next tertiary storage device, that is optical tape. Optical tape is a medium of optical storage generally consisting of a long and narrow strip of plastic onto which patterns can be written and formed, which the pattern can be read back, as shown in the figure. It shares some technologies with cinema film stock and optical disc, but is compatible with neither. In 1990s, it was projected that optical tape would be a commonly used high-capacity, high-speed computer data storage format, at least on working system, and several prototypes were developed. But as of 2007, none of these technologies are widely used. Optical tapes are designed to maximize the storage capacity of a media unit. Optical tape record data on tapes using laser beam to maximize the recording density. Most of the recording surface is wound and hidden using a tape form. Unlike magnetic tapes, optical tapes record data in the traverse format as shown in the figure below. The tape moves horizontally and the optical read-write head moves at a perpendicular direction to the tape moving direction. The tape stops while the optical head records a track of data. The head records data from one edge to another edge along the width of a tape. After a track of data is recorded, the tape moves a step and the head springs back. The tape stops again and the optical head writes another data track. These data tracks are perpendicular to the tape moving direction. The length of a data track is shorter than the width of the tape. Now we will discuss about robotic tape library. Large hierarchical storage systems need to store many objects. These systems need to exchange tapes quickly so that they can serve many requests. Robotic tape libraries perform the exchange operation automatically so that the manual operations are avoided. The robotic tape library consists of following components: tapes, tape drive, robotic arm, and tape cells. As in manual tape drives, the objects are stored on the tapes, and the tapes are loaded to the tape drives for accessing. The number of tape drives in the robotic arm library determines the access bandwidth of the library. The tapes are usually kept in the tape cells as shown in adjacent figure. The number of tape cells in the robotic tape library determines the total storage capacity of the library. The robotic arm performs the exchange of tapes automatically. Let's see how robotic tape library works. First, consider the case in which the robotic tape library has only one arm. When a tape is required, the robotic tape library performs the following steps. Step number 1. The robotic arm moves to the tape drive. Next, the tape drive ejects the original tape and the robotic arm fetches the original tape. Then the robotic arm moves the original tape back to its own cell or a vacant cell. Now, the robotic arm moves to the cell containing the new tape, and the robotic arm fetches the new tape. Then the robotic arm moves the tape to the tape drive. The robotic arm puts the tape inside the tape drive, and the tape drive loads the tape. It makes total of 9 steps when we are using one robotic arm tape library. If the tape library has two robotic arms that are mounted together, it can exchange tape using fewer steps as follows. First, the robotic arm moves to the tape cell. The robotic arm fetches the tape from the cell. Then the robotic arm moves the tape to the tape drive. The tape drive ejects the original tape and the robotic arm exchanges the tape with the original tape. The tape drive loads the new tape. And finally, the robotic arm moves the original tape back to its cell or a vacant cell. If you compare these two methods, the tape library performs fewer steps when two robotic arms are available. In addition, the tape drive can start its next operation to reposition the tape after the new tape is loaded. The tape drive receives the new tape in fewer steps. Thus, the robotic tape library can thus exchange tapes more quickly. Now we will discuss about the performance of tertiary storage devices. Similar to the disk performance, the tertiary storage devices mainly spend their time on the mechanical steps. Other steps also consume some time, but they are comparatively less significant. The major mechanical steps in serving a request are shown in the adjacent figure, and they include: number 1, exchange time. Exchange time is the time taken to exchange or switch tape in the drive, and it is denoted by omega. And exchange time is almost constant. Next comes the reposition time. Reposition time is the time taken to reposition the tape to the first data block of file or object. It is denoted by alpha and it increases linearly with the amount of data being skipped. Third is the transfer time. It is the time taken to transfer data blocks from tape to memory. It is denoted by gamma and it increases linearly with the amount of data being accessed. Now, let's denote the size of the object being accessed with the symbol x. Then the access time can be found as the sum of the exchange time, reposition time, and data transfer time, as shown in the equation given below. Some assumptions are made to analyze the performance of magnetic tape drives and optical tape drives, and they include: first, the exchange time can be assumed to be uniformly distributed over a mean value. Since the time to unload and load tapes are almost constant, it is valid to make this assumption. The second assumption is the tape drive runs at fixed speed in skipping a certain length of tape, since the tape skipping time increases with the length of tape being skipped from reading. The reposition time thus increases linearly with the amount of data being skipped. Third assumption is the tape drive transfer data at a fixed data transfer rate. Since the tape passes the read-write heads at a fixed speed, the data transfer time thus increases linearly with the amount of data being accessed. The time components which are used to calculate the access time shows following features. First, the time to access an object has a minimum overhead. Since the exchange time is uniformly distributed, a minimum overhead is required unless the object already resides on the loaded tape in the drive. Second, the overheads increase linearly with the amount of data being skipped in the reposition step. When some other object needed to be skipped, the skipping time increases linearly with the size of the skipped data. It is more efficient to place the object near the unloading position on the tape. Thus, an efficient data placement method can avoid the overhead from escalating. Third, the access time increases linearly with the object data size. Thus, it takes longer time to access large objects. Now, I will conclude the presentation by presenting the summary. The main objective of the tertiary storage level is to provide huge storage capacity at low cost. The tertiary storage devices in use include magnetic tapes, optical discs, optical tapes. The media units are removable from the drive so that the storage capacity can be expanded by using more media units. The media units take the tape form so that the physical dimension of the media unit is small. Optical discs and tapes record data the laser beams to provide the highest recording density. Large hierarchical storage systems may use robotic tape libraries to store many large objects. Robotic tape libraries use the robotic arm to exchange tapes automatically and quickly. When data are accessed from the tape drives, the drives spend much time in performing the mechanical steps. The drives have a minimum overhead to access data. The overheads are affected by the data placement method in use. It also takes longer time to access large objects.